Hello everyone and welcome back to the Healthy Aging podcast, where we are continuing on with our chats about nutrition. We've already heard from a couple of really amazing people, but this one today is very, very special for me and Susie particularly, because our guest is a friend as well as someone that we hugely respect as a human being in business. We just absolutely love her. So Susie, would you like to introduce our guest?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Lorraine. So I've got the honour to introduce Peggy Krock, who is my business mentor, one of my main business mentors that I work alongside in my new Skin and Farming X business. I have known Peggy for over 12 years. She lives in America, but she's a little bit of a nomad, which I love because I'm going to tell everybody, I'm so sorry, Peggy, but in her 70s, to still be living the life that she does, just traveling around. She's got different houses in different places. She lives an incredible life. She has the biggest heart that you've ever come across, which you'll all see. She is a granny and a great gran. So yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll talk more about that as well. And what was it? I'm trying to think. Oh, one of the girls that we work closely with calls her sweetly ruthless. So that's how we know our Peggy. But I don't think there's any ruthlessness in there at all. Everything she does is to help us, is to educate and to ensure that we are becoming better human beings and serving others in a much greater way. So I've known Peggy for over 12 years. She's been to the UK. I've been out to America. We've had so much fun together. We've done so much together. And she's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to nutrition, as she does have a background in nutrition. So I'm actually just going to quickly come in, Lorraine, because I know that you normally ask that first question. But Peggy, I would like to first of all get you to just share a little bit about your background, about your nutrition background, actually all your backgrounds, please. If you could start us there, that would be fab.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I'm just very, very excited to be here. Thank you so much. And it's great to see your smiling faces this morning, or morning for me. Well, my background is actually threefold. I actually started many years ago. I've always had a passion for health and wellness, driven actually, I think, by my father as well. He was very instrumental. And but I've always been a bit of a tomboy. So I thought, how can I do this? So I went to school to become a health and physical education teacher and accomplished that. And at the end of my first year of teaching, I thought, well, I was going into that for the ability to have 3 months off to travel. Well, I discovered that when summer came and when school ended, so did the paycheck. I was like, well, that was an eye opener. So I ended up having to take a summer job. So I moved my education to corporate America, and I ran a very large, very successful weight loss clinic, actually a series of clinics that I was regional manager for here in Minnesota in the Midwest. And then I actually discovered the flip side of the coin in the health arena, in that in corporate America, I was very successful, made a lot of money, and then I had no time to spend it. And I'd become a single mom at the time. So time was almost more important than money at that point. So I decided to start my own business. And I became, as a nutritionist, started doing nutrition counseling. And I loved it. But I also realized that owning your own business isn't necessarily the end all. And then wonderfully, going on 19 years ago, I was introduced to a technology called the biophotonic scanner. And I thought this could be my way to actually have some time and travel and money. Because I thought this is a nutritional lie detector. And in my practice, I thought this is going to be amazing to be able to measure if a person's lifestyle is actually serving their health and their wellness, and they're going in the right direction. And what I discovered with my passion for that technology and introducing it to the medical community, that I started to have an income stream in the health arena that was allowing me flexibility and time freedom, and Susie, I know that you're pretty passionate about the scanner as well. And so that's kind of the nutshell of how I actually met you. And we started working together 12 years ago. And I've been doing this now. I'm in my 19th year with the company, with Pharmanex. I came in on the nutritional division, which is called Pharmanex.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm busy writing all these notes down, Peggy. Missed my cue. Oh, absolutely amazing. I love hearing that story of all the different things that you've done and all the different elements really of working life that you've experienced, and then you found the thing that fitted your life and your goals perfectly. So I'm sure we'll come back to all of that, but we always start the podcast just asking the same question, which would be what are your top 3 tips for healthy aging?
Oh gosh, and I have to limit it to 3. First of all, I mean, I start with supplementation. And again, I have to give credit to my father because he was way ahead of his time. And he was educating me on the difference in the quality of supplementation, because there was no regulation in the industry back then, and there isn't now. So seeking out and making sure you're taking something that's bioavailable. And it's one of the things I loved about the scanner was it was actually telling me if the clients that were coming to me every day were taking a supplement that was actually supporting their body, supporting their health. So quality supplementation is right up there. I've been preaching that I have to stop saying 40 and start saying 50 years. I've been avoiding that, but I guess it's been 50 years now that I've been doing this. Secondly, I would say, well, and actually going right along with that is water and veggies. I mean, those are the 3 things. High quality supplementation, drink your water, and eat as many veggies as you can. That just supports the whole body. Second thing would be to pay attention to your mindset, your thoughts and feelings. And it's easier to pay attention to how you feel, because what you're feeling is going to dictate what your thoughts are. So what you focus on expands, what you think about, you bring about. You'll hear me say that probably way too much, but repetition is important. I always remind people, especially in the healthy aging arena, that the skin is an organ. So you want to take care of it like you take care of your heart and your lungs, your kidneys, your liver. The advantage that we have to this organ is that we can touch it. We can do things on the outside as well as the inside. So healthy aging wise, again, water affects this. Frankly, it affects hair. And I don't know if this is an appropriate time to share this or not, but it's now what people used to laugh at me and say, just wait. But I'm now 72 years old and I've never colored my hair. And I firmly believe, Susie's eyes, I firmly believe that it's because I've been taking care of my body from the inside out ever since I was in my teens. And it's manifesting in that my hair isn't aging. So and it's not genes because my siblings are all gray.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Do you know, how can I have known you for 12 years and not know that about you, that you've never dyed your hair? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well,
but
I just have to interrupt and say, I have dyed it once, but it doesn't count because it was my Christmas present last year from one of my granddaughters, and she bought me purple hair dye and then she dyed it for me. So I did have purple hair for about 5 weeks.
They would definitely keep you young, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, you've always been a massive inspiration to me in the fact that, you know, I forget that you're 72 because there's nothing, listen, age is just a number anyway, but there's nothing 72-ish about you other than your wisdom, your knowledge, what you share. But, you know, I mean, you do horse riding, I think, daily. You're with the kids, the grandkids lots. You're still building a business. You're out there educating people. You're traveling the States at the moment because you can't travel the world because of the restrictions that we're still in, but you're not a typical 72-year-old, and it is because of absolutely how you have lived your life, the choices that you have made, and that is one of the big things that Lorraine and I are wanting to do with our Healthy Aging podcast is let people know this is about prevention. What you choose to do today will massively, massively impact how you age and how you will be at the age of 70, 80, 90, etc. You know, so you're an absolute advocate of it, and you're somebody I hugely respect and look up to because of that. And every day I'm motivated to be more and more like you. You know, that's who you're, the person I want to be when I am in my 70s, in my 80s, and it's brilliant. So thank you so much for everything that you do for me, not just how you help me with business, but actually how you inspire me without you even knowing. So you're an amazing human being, Peggy. So thank you so much. Now, I would love to talk more about the scanner because it is my passion. We have got you on here, that a lady that's got all this knowledge on nutrition, on supplements. This section is all about nutrition, and yet we haven't covered supplements. We've covered food, we've covered diet, we've covered all different things, but we actually haven't covered supplements. So this is the perfect time to cover it because there is a lot of different beliefs out there. Like what you're talking about the fact that the industry isn't regulated. I wasn't sure if that was the same in the US because it's not regulated in the UK. I was doing a presentation on the scanner yesterday, so I was doing a bit of research, and it was just reminding me that, like, we revolutionized the supplement industry when we brought that out. So let's start with, tell us what the biophotonic scanner is.
Oh my gosh, it's such an amazing, I said when, 18, 19 years ago, it felt a little Star Trek-y that we were going to be able to use light to measure a biomarker in our body. What I love is that the company didn't come up with this. It was created or invented at the University of Utah in their Center for Biomedical Optics. They were actually doing age-related macular degeneration studies to try and pinpoint the two carotenoids at the backside of the eyeball. Carotenoid, by the way, is a category of antioxidant. So as the carotenoids lessen in the eye, blindness and macular degeneration occur. So that's what the clinicals were on. And it was a huge piece of it. It was a full room, conference room with fiber optics and stuff going into the ceiling. And one of the scientists reached across the table, accidentally got the blue light on her arm, and it registered in the computer screen. And they went, oh my gosh, we measured those two carotenoids in the skin. So they expanded their research to all 18 carotenoids, and then they contacted us. They contacted Pharmanex at Nu Skin and said, we have a technology you might be interested in. So that's how we got our hands on it. We paid $10 million for the rights. It's patented. Then we invested over $150 million in the development of it. And what I love is because it's measuring your body 4 to 6 weeks out as to how healthy your immune system is. Really, it becomes an immune biomarker, that it was able to tell a person if what they're taking, both in the food and in the supplement arena, was actually effective. Is it actually getting into the bloodstream and then into the cells of the body, where your body does battle? So to me, it became hugely influential for my, and actually very emotional. When somebody gets that reading, there is an emotional reaction because you can't feel if your body is going the wrong direction. You can't feel if you don't have strong immune protection until something happens. A cold turns into pneumonia, or you're carrying cancer around in your body and you don't know it until it surfaces and you've had it for 3 years and it's further along than it needs to be. So in that regard, and I didn't share this as part of my story, but one of the ways I was trying to set myself free so that my income wasn't all about me, I created a supplement line. I wrote a book, I created a tape series, and I created a vitamin line. And I was appalled at what manufacturing companies were willing to do to put a bottle with a label on the shelf for the consumer that shouldn't have to know what I know. And so in that regard, I loved that it was telling them if the supplements they were consuming was working. And then I would make a recommendation with the ability to offer a money back guarantee because we can measure. And it's not about, I always told my patients, I said, it's not about making the company and the scanner wrong and getting your money back. I think the more important piece here is that it's actually working and you're getting healthy and you're staying young. And so they would get on the supplement. I would measure them, 30 days and 60 days. And some of those patients that I've long closed my practice because of the scanner, frankly, but they're still customers of mine. They still order every single month because of how they feel. And nutrition is there's such a subtle shift that what happens is you start to feel better and then that becomes your new normal. So I've had several people that go, well, I feel just fine. I don't think I need this anymore. And it takes them about 60 days to start to drag and be tired and need naps, and they're consuming more caffeine again. They're consuming more sugar again, which then puts the weight on. Because I also discovered weight loss would happen when your body's getting at the micronutritional level exactly what it needs. The cravings stop. You're not standing at the refrigerator at night trying to decide what you want. And that's your body saying, I didn't get everything I needed. And we end up overeating macro calories. So I'm way off topic now, Susie, sorry.
Not at all. You're not way off topic. Not at all. It's absolutely brilliant. And this is what we love about the podcast is, it's what comes from the heart when we're talking, and we just go with whatever comes out. And it's why we never prepare anything.
Well, I'm definitely not prepared.
But it's raw and real.
Yes.
So, phenomenal information, and we will put in the show notes, we'll put up links for people to see the scanner, find out more about it, exactly what it is, etc. But yes, it is a tool that we use in business. It's a tool that I'm very passionate about. I love the fact that I can measure my mum, my dad, my brother, my husband, myself. It gives me absolute peace of mind, and having that at my fingertips and knowing the peace of mind that gives me is absolutely incredible, because I have seen a measurement plummet massively quickly because of a very, very stressful situation, something that happened in the family. So I understand the importance of keeping that measurement score high and what you need to do to keep that measurement score high. So when we talk about supplements, Peggy, we do have really mixed opinions out there. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that it's not regulated, but a lot of people believe that we don't need supplements, and or because it's like a foreign substance to the body, they don't work. So what would be your comeback on those two things that I've just said?
First of all, I think supplements are critical, and I always share with my clients that a perfect example is an apple that my grandmother ate had more nutrients and was healthy for her than an apple that I eat now. And the reason is that the trace minerals, the things that an apple needs to be healthy, is still in the soil, because they put it in the soil to produce a healthy apple. But they don't put everything in the soil that used to be there to make a healthy human. So even though we are doing our best, I always tell people it's called supplement for a reason. It's not called alternative. You want to eat as healthy as you possibly can on that plate of food, and then you're going to have supplements that line the side of your plate that you're going to be taking in addition to. And when people are taking an average one a day, most one a days, I just frankly have to say, they pack so much into it, and the manufacturing company uses heat and pressure, which destroys the nutrient integrity of that. And there's also transit time. That pill has a limited amount of time in the upper end of your intestines and stomach, or what are called binding sites. That's where the nutrition has to go through those, attach and go through those binding sites in order to get to the bloodstream and into the body. And once that pill passes those binding sites, it's too late. It becomes fish food. It's not helping the body at all, and it actually can become harmful in that we've seen vitamin pills stuck in the diverticuli when we do x-rays. So to be able to have a product that breaks down is really, really important. And the average American, or I shouldn't say American, the average person, because this is international, shouldn't have to know that. That's my job. Just I used to tell my clients, I said, you shouldn't have to know that any more than if my plumbing broke, I shouldn't have to be expected to know how to fix it. That's why I call a plumber. So the people that are educated to guide, when you walk into a nutrition store, it's overwhelming what's on the shelf. And most people won't buy the cheapest and they won't buy the most expensive, but they will buy middle of the road because they think that the quality is attached to the price. And it's not. It has nothing to do with, I mean, it maybe has a little bit to do with, but it's all about the inert and the inert and the other ingredients. So know that there's a huge difference. I'm actually going to share something that when I toured the lab and talked to the scientists, because I went and did my due diligence before I was 2 years in research to create my own vitamin line. So it wasn't an easy task to give that up and to incorporate the Pharmanex nutrition into my practice. So I went and did huge due diligence, and I learned that almost 50% of the raw material that comes into Nu Skin is quarantined, and they re-assay it to determine that what's on the label, it's big 500-gallon drums. They want to make sure that what's on the label is actually in the barrel, and they're rejecting almost 50%. Well, whether it's toxins, pesticides, heavy metals, or frankly, sometimes what's on the label isn't even in there. You know, it says it's vitamin C and it's not. No other company does that because they don't have to, and it's very timely and it's costly. Well, what do you think happens to those other barrels? They're not going and dumping them in a ditch somewhere. Somebody else is buying them, and that's what's on the shelves, which is why it's one of the reasons why I love the scanner. It's one of the reasons why I love educating people. I mean, we have what's called a success process where we do clinicals on our product before they're released. We want to make sure that we have the healthy quality materials when it goes in to manufacturing, and then we test when it's completed to make sure that the completed product is quality. That's something that I couldn't do on my own, but linking with a company that has 75 to 100 full-time scientists from all 13 disciplines, that's a huge big deal. And it took a huge weight off of my shoulders so that I can now comfortably and confidently recommend. And if I have a question, I get to pick up the phone and call a scientist. I don't have to go do the research myself. So in that regard, there is a huge difference out there. The scanner will verify if what you're taking is actually working. And doctors love it because they're not educated in the nutrition world, but they now can scan and educate their patients or make a recommendation. And if the scan score plummets, as you referred to earlier, Susie, that's an early indicator that there's free radicals being created in the body, and free radicals cause all disease. So, and it's the antioxidants that neutralize the free radicals. So if we know that the number is going down, that's a very early indicator that the doctor can do blood work. They can do things to determine what is the cause. And we hear story after story after story in that regard. I mean, even personally, my brother, he got a scanner. He's now retired, but he was a nurse at the time, and he loved the concept and the idea. So he actually got a scanner and was utilizing it. And he called me and said, my scanner's broke. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, my scan score has just plummeted this month. And it took me back for a second. And then I thought, well, what about Laura Ann, his wife? I said, how's her score? And then he stopped. He realized, he goes, oh, hers is fine. I said, yeah, the scanner isn't broke. You are. So that allowed me to step into his world and find out what had changed. Well, his work had changed, and he was in the air. He was traveling a lot. So first of all, he's above the ozone layer a lot when you're flying, and so you don't have as much protection. But it also disrupted his eating. And typical man said, don't tell me to eat more vegetables, tell me which pill I can take. So that's my brother. So I'm just very, as you can tell, extremely passionate about this technology, and I'm so confident in the supplements that I can now recommend to family and friends, people I care about. It's just such a huge relief.
And can you tell us, like, because not everybody will know that's listening, can you tell us, like, what is a free radical? What is an antioxidant? What's the importance of them? Just like in sort of layman's term, a quick overview.
Okay, so a free radical is a molecule in your body that's missing an electron. So it's unstable. So it's going through your body trying to, it'll go to a healthy cell and it'll rip an electron off that healthy cell to neutralize itself, to balance itself out. And that's where disease occurs. That's where cancer occurs, when you have damaged cells. Antioxidants, and specifically carotenoids, have an abundance of electrons that they can freely donate. So they protect the cell. So the only place you can get carotenoids, those antioxidants, are from fruits and vegetables. So it is the color that gives a carrot that orange color, or a tomato the red. That's the carotenoid antioxidant. So the more colorful lettuce you can eat, and blueberries, and to just go for colorful, and that's going to give you your protection. And by the way, educating, I volunteer, or I used to, in the schools all the time. I would go in and scan an elementary classroom, because if we can start with our children, and we've got some amazing children's supplements, by the way, that I'm just in love with for both mind and body. They carry that into the home. And I did this with my own grandchildren. I scanned, I've got 2 granddaughters that are only 11 months apart, and one is naturally very, very healthy. In fact, her favorite food is green bean casserole, if you can believe it. So she's my vegetarian. I know, go figure. And the other one, I'm not going to mention names, I almost did, has a sweet tooth. Well, when I scanned them, so obviously the healthy one scanned very high and the other one didn't. So Tammy called me, my daughter, and said she was in the grocery store, and the one granddaughter grabbed the lettuce that Tammy put into the cart, grabbed it and ran down the aisle with it. And Tammy said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "It's not green enough." She was running for another head of lettuce. So I'm simply sharing that because you can impact children at a very early age. And my grandchildren are all extremely healthy, simply because of the example we set. I always say the person with their hands on the grocery cart is the physician for the family. You're making the choices that are going to have your family healthy or not.
Yeah. So when it comes to children, I always hand over to Lorraine because she has them. I don't. What's your thoughts on all of that, Lorraine, with the children? And because the way that I see it nowadays is there's so much readily available to children, and parents are so busy that they are being fed convenience. Is that the case, do you think?
I think so. I mean, it's very tempting to fall into that kind of way of life. And I think, I experience it a lot now that my children are at school and they're influenced by things outside of the home. So it's easier when they're at home and you kind of have full control over what they eat and, how they eat. And then they go to school or they go to parties or different things, and or grandparents, I have to say, not you, Peggy, but sometimes, the grandparents want to spoil them, and they do that through food and all of those things. But something that, that I've learned pretty recently is just kind of what's in the food, the convenience foods. So, they are, the way that they are processed and the way they're made, they're actually made with things that make our kids crave them again. They don't just satisfy them, fill them up. They actually kind of have things in them that make our kids crave more food. So they're never feeling full and they're never feeling satisfied. And it can then be really difficult to get them back onto healthy food that isn't pumped full of this stuff, because they're actually becoming addicted. So, you know, it's scary to see what goes on, you know, in the food industry, and kind of exactly everything that goes on. I think it's all stacked against us as parents. So we have to be, you know, we have to do the best that we can when the kids are here in the home, and kind of make sure that we're, you know, we are feeding them all the things. But I do believe that if you feed them well at home, they might go off and pick up unhealthy choice at school, or, you know, they might make bad choices, but it's exactly like you say, they're used to feeling good, they're used to feeling a certain way, so they will also start to not feel great, and then they'll kind of, I always remember I would have times, I would ask my mum just to make me like a big plate of broccoli and cauliflower because I'd obviously been making my own choices which weren't healthy, and I'd get home and I'd just want to eat like a huge big plate of vegetables because my body must have been craving that. And that still happens to me now sometimes, you know, I just think I just want to eat a big plate of veg. So yeah, I don't think it's easy for parents. I think a lot of things are, as I say, stacked against us, whether it's marketing, what's actually in the foods, our surroundings, you know, all of those things. So yeah, we definitely have to do what we can.
Yeah, and I do think that's, again, for me, I think that's when supplementation becomes essential. So, I mean, I don't know what you think, Peggy. I don't believe that every single human being on this earth needs a supplement. But I would say 99% do. That 1% that don't would be the yogi who sits on top of a mountain, meditating most of the day, eating from the land, with the perfect mindset, filled with love. Like that, for me, is the person that doesn't need a supplement. I don't know if you would agree or not, but I would say if you, like, certainly through my years with working with a scanner, I have came across a lot of, and I've spoke about this before, and I don't mean to offend a group of people, but I've already offended them. So here we go again. I've came across a lot of young fitness experts who don't care about their health. They just care about having big muscles, and that's when they're training their people, that's what they care about. And their response to me is, you don't need a supplement, you can get everything from your diet, as they're drinking a can of Red Bull or something like that, which just absolutely infuriates me. Anyway, definitely have energy around that, don't I? I need to shift that. So I actually think that if you're working, if you're a parent, if you're running a normal life, your body is not getting the nutrition that is required to fight off the stresses, the pollution, the radiation. I just don't think we're getting it. So I believe supplements are essential. Would you agree or not, Peggy?
Oh my gosh, yes, you said so. I should have been taking notes because you said so many things. 100% agree with you. And especially athletes actually create more free radicals in their body because they're an athlete. They're creating oxidative stress. So they need more than the normal antioxidants in their body. And you're right, people can be fit and not healthy. There's a huge difference between those two words. And we're living in an environment that, again, our grandparents weren't living in, with traffic and you know, the paint and the stuff that comes out of carpets. We're being subjected to that on a daily basis, and the stress level is higher. And when they say stress can kill you, that's why. It's because of the free radical creation in our body from the stress. So to manage that, so I do agree there's probably a very, very small category of people that are so health conscious in a good way. They're juicing, and they're probably planting and growing their own vegetables. So they're putting into the soil what the food needs to make their body healthy. But oh my gosh, you know, the new recommendation for fruit and vegetable consumption is not 4 to 5, it's now 9 to 13. And I challenge people, including myself in this day and age, to get 13 servings of fruits and vegetables. You'd be juicing all day long. It's extremely hard. So the easy approach is, again, to find something that's quality, easy to take. I love that we now have a powdered 1-a-day supplement that raises your scan score. That is so, I call it pixie sticking. When you don't have water, you just take it like a pixie stick. So we've got not just in pill form, but we've got wonderful ways that people can improve their health and slow down the aging process, frankly, because we age from the inside out.
Yeah, no, we definitely do. And again, I love what you said at the beginning about the skin, about treating it like an organ as well, because I'd never actually thought about it like that before.
Yeah, and the skin protects our body from everything else. It's set up to have a defense layer. So even the skincare, then I know this isn't skincare, but you need to have skincare that will support that in a way that can actually permeate the skin barrier. And we have a couple of products that are amazing at being able to get the skin to do what it's supposed to do naturally. And I won't go into that, but again, it's like nutrition for the skin.
Yeah, and we can bring you on when we're doing the skincare section, definitely. And I know that Lorraine will be gearing up for that last question, but I'm not allowing her to ask it yet. One more question, I definitely, because again, this is a question that I get asked. Like, there are people that do things like, and I don't know a lot about it, but there's people that do things like hair analysis. So they'll look at the hair and they'll say, right, you are deficient in vitamin B6 and vitamin D, and that's it. So that's what you need. So instead of someone having what we would call a multivitamin, they have specific ones. So how do we know what someone should take?
To me, and we're dealing with, obviously, if we're dealing with somebody that has a health issue, then there's specialty supplementing that needs to be done in addition to. But for the average American, on a micronutrient level, so I'm talking vitamins and minerals, not macronutrients or food. So on a micronutrient level, you can almost put a clean slate and say, there's minimum dosages that every person requires in order for the body to orchestrate and work synergistically with itself. And so when I used to make house calls during my nutrition practice and I'd go into the home, oh my gosh, I'd open a cupboard and there would be, sometimes 15, 20 bottles of supplements that they were trying to open and take. And they don't know the proper dosages. And so you can actually set up an imbalance in the body where if you're taking too much of one thing, the body reacts differently. So everybody, I think, needs a good quality, balanced multivitamin mineral formula to just take the question mark off the plate. And it doesn't mean that you don't eat healthy. Lorraine, I'm in 100% agreement that we as not just our children, but we as humans are being sabotaged in order to buy more of what's out there. And sugar is the number one culprit. And when they say sugar crash, sugar high, sugar low, those are drug terms. Same mental pathway in the body, the same pathways that drugs and alcohol will take, and it perpetuates the craving, and it's very difficult. So when children get caught up in that, nutrition, a good quality vitamin will help that, because when a body's getting what it needs, it's easier to stop the craving. So when I counseled in that arena, drug and alcohol arena, that was the first thing that I actually required. I wouldn't even work with them if they weren't taking a multi. And they commented on how much easier it was to break the addiction. And so I use that same mentality in the nutrition world to break the addiction to sugar, because there's a lot of people out there that desserts are critical, and all the way through the day they're taking in sodas or something to keep their energy up because they don't have the micronutrients in their body that would naturally give them that feel good energy feeling. Did I get, I don't even know if I answered your question now. I kind of got off on a topic again.
You answered it perfectly.
Yeah, and something I will ask the last question, but we're getting so into this. So I've got another question I'd like to ask, just about gut health and the relation to our gut, the immune system, our mind, all of that stuff. So while we've got you, I just wondered if you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share with us.
Oh, I have huge thoughts, but we would need another hour. That is the gut. I think that the intelligence within the gut is, our gut is smarter than our brain. And there is a communication between the brain and the gut. And to be able to take care of gut health is so critical. We've actually got an amazing probiotic, and we have one for children as well, which I love, that the probiotics that are built into that. It's critical to, I mean, that's such a huge, immense topic, but that's where health starts, is in the gut. And to be able to properly take care of that. And you know, when you've eaten something bad, your gut tells you, you know, in the form of whether it's just a stomach ache, or whether it's energy, or whether it's cramping, you know, in the muscles. I mean, your body will scream at you when you're doing something wrong. We just have to pay attention to it. It's wise. There's an innate intelligence within the body. And if we have an awareness, it's why I'm not vegetarian, because every once in a while, my body tells me I need a certain food. And sometimes that's a steak. And I just honor, so I don't go on cravings, but I go on when my body is telling me it needs something, I just give it to them. So maybe it's iron I need it. I don't know even what's in the steak, but when I eat it, when my body tells me to versus when I want to, I always feel good. If I overeat a food because I'm eating for my taste buds instead of my body, then I pay the price, because we're all human. And everything in moderation. I'm certainly not saying don't ever, you know, enjoy a good pizza, because I certainly do. But everything in moderation versus extreme behavior will serve you well.
Love it, love it. Well, the time has come. We're very respectful of your time. So I'm going to ask the last question. I'm sure that our listeners will have taken so much from this conversation. But if there was just one thing you could advise listeners that they could go and implement in their lives right now that would help them towards healthy aging, what would that one thing be?
You know, it's not nutrition, it's mindset. Because it's how you think that guides, it's the driver, you know, this is your vehicle, and it's your mental state that's the driver behind the wheel that helps you make the right and the wrong choices. So taking care, I mean, I laugh now, but my mindset from a very early age was, I'm going to live to 120 and I'm not turning gray. And I laugh about that now, because I'm 72 and I feel like I'm 40. And I'm not gray, and that's actually starting to surprise me. And I have to be careful, because if I let that go, it's like, oh no. But what you think about, you bring about. So if it's health and energy and fitness and love of life, mindset leads the way to healthy food choices and healthy supplementing. So pay attention to what you're putting in up here. I always say, pull a weed and plant a seed, because it's a constant battle. The negative thoughts are there. So that's the pulling of the weed, but in the garden of your mind, it's your responsibility to cultivate it and plant healthy seeds. So I would leave everybody with that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peggy, for your time, for your knowledge, for your wisdom, for sharing everything with us. Really appreciate it. It's great for me to hear about the scanner again as well. I'll be listening to this podcast many times. And for anybody that does want to get their score, you know, you want to find out what your scan score is, give me or Lorraine a shout. We'll find a nutritional lie detector in your area to get you on that track. We can help you with that, absolutely. And if you're interested in good quality supplements, again, come and speak to us. We can totally help you with that. As always, you can find us on Spotify, on YouTube. We're on different platforms with our podcast, but that's the two main ones. And then remember to follow us on Instagram, Healthy Aging Podcast. Have a great week, everybody. Look forward to speaking with you all next week.